All right, tonight we are going to talk about Oklahoma City. The bombing, of course, how it was synced with 9/11, how it was synced with a whole lot of astronomical phenomenon. I'm going to give people some time to come on, so before I get into Oklahoma City, I'm going to take the first few minutes. Well, hi, Angie, how are you? We are going to talk about something else for a few minutes. We are going to talk about Jared Kushner before I get into Oklahoma City. Give people more time to come on here. This that you see on your screen, the Bible code or the septenary cipher, is based on the 7 days of the week. It is a gematria calculator. And what I did, or a cipher, a gematria cipher, and I got this from somebody named Marty Leeds. That's who I found this out from. It's based on the 7 days of the week in Genesis. And I wrote it on the board the same way he did, but I just took it and by the example of Jonathan Basie and some others that I found on Facebook channel. Our channel is called Mathematics of the Las Vegas Shooting. Well, I started taking this code and running wild with it. It is not the only code that we use. And if you're not familiar with gematria, it's the practice of pairing letters with numbers. It is known in Freemasonry and is very well known in Jewish circles and has been around for not just hundreds, but many thousands of years. And it's how the elite code messages with each other. You see these codes constantly on TV and in the media. And I'm going to give you an example right now. Jared Kushner. Let's write his name out on the board. The name Kush automatically stands out to me immediately, even without using gematria, because Kush was the grandson of, Shem, Ham, Shem, and Japheth, and then Ham had... Kush. I'm pretty sure it's his grandson. So Kush automatically would be a name associated with people who are not so friendly in history, who have brought about the line that caused a lot of problems in the world from a biblical standpoint. Well, let's take Jared Kushner's name and let's start applying the gematria now while we're waiting for others to join. So here we go. Using this cipher, Jared is 41554, and then we have 366155. Now, here's what's going on here. Ones and zeros are not very important in gematria. In fact, when you multiply them this way, they add nothing to the value. So we're just going to erase them, okay? And now this stands out because it's very, very important. And you probably noticed the 666 as well. So what's going on here? This should be written as with a comma, 45, 54. Well, hi, Evie. And 45, if you add every number from 45 to 54, 45, 46. Hey, Evie and Angie, this would be a good test for my microphone. Do you guys hear me okay? I kind of like to make sure. Give me a thumbs up or a like or something so I know that you hear me. Just want to make sure the sound's coming across right. Give you a second here. Uh-oh, I'm not seeing anything. You guys hearing me? Maybe I better type in there and see. That's not... Oh, okay, good. Evie says hi, Uncle Greg, so she must hear me. Okay, very good. All right, so we're taking 45, and we're going to add all the numbers from 45 to 54. 45, 46. This marker's not working so good, so we'll try another one. Plus 47, plus 48. Plus 49, plus 50, plus 51, plus 52, plus 53, plus 54. Add all those up, and it comes to this number right here, 4, 9, 5. Now, this is no accident. Let me tell you something about Jared Kushner. It's a little hard. It's a little difficult to hear me. That's not good. Let me see if there is a way to turn it up in any way. Bought a microphone. I was really hoping that it would work well, but you know how it is. Let's see. I will turn this up. Let's see. Noise suppression, acoustic cancellation. There, this is up all the way. Microphone boost, that wouldn't hurt. That's all the way up. All right, I've done about all I can do to adjust it. I don't know if it improved it any, but I do have my little microphone right here. I will try to put something up where I can, let's see, need a book or something. There we go. I'll get it a little closer to my mouth here one way or another. Maybe just a few inches might help some. There we go. And that's what I get for buying a $15 microphone. But hey, what can I do? All right. So $4.95. Let's talk about that. That is the number that we talked about in previous videos, that using this same cipher that the words Lord Jesus Christ is reduced to. It's a very important number. Now, the Jews believe, some of the Jews believe, that Jared Kushner could be the next Messiah. There's actually a group in Israel right now that thinks Jared Kushner could possibly be the next Messiah. And why would they say that? Well, his name definitely sums with it. And he has 666 in his name. You know, just like Jesus Christ. Okay? Not by accident. Okay, so he's been well planned out and groomed for this. And let's look at how this goes. And by the way, $4.95, you might have noticed that is why, if you've heard my last videos, you might remember that I've mentioned that Interstate 495 goes around Washington, D.C. So here's what's going on here. 36 and 666 are related because 36 is the triangular number that if you add all the numbers, kind of like you did here, 1 through 36. In other words, you get 1 plus 2 plus 3, and you keep doing that all the way to 36. You just keep adding each one. It sums to 666. And sometimes I have pointed out in the past, yeah, sometimes they use it bad, Evie, and sometimes it can be a good number or a bad number. It's just in how it's used. Now, but it does represent man. See, Jesus was known as the Son of God and the Son of Man, both. So that represents his man side, so he has a man side and a heavenly divinity side. So 31 through 36 added together equals 666. Now, when I was talking about before about the, hi Sonia Sharp, I loved your tips the other day, by the way. I put that in my notes. Now, the Washington Memorial is 666 feet tall. Inches tall. Nah, is that right? Inches and feet. Well, anyway, 666 is 555 feet. So, yeah, so 666 inches divided by 12 should be 555. I think that's right. You can look it up for yourself. The dimensions are right there on Wikipedia. So 666 is related to 55, like that. All you're doing is just getting rid of the ones that add no value, because you multiply by 1 doesn't mean anything anyway. So ones and zeros are not all that important. Hey, Amy, haven't heard from you in a long time. Someone I used to go to school with. I'm going to try a fresh marker, because both of these markers are not all that great. And in fact, I think it was Sonia there that told me that this was her tip, talking about 666, that Saddam Hussein died on November 5th, 2006. And the day that we're watching out for is this coming August 11th. And it just so happens that from Saddam Hussein's death to this coming 811 is 666 weeks. And so many things do compare. Now, Jared Kushner, why is it then that Jared Kushner purchased 666 Fifth Avenue for a vast fortune more than it was valued at? Oh, here it is. 666 divided by 12 equals 55.5. There it is. That's the conversion I was looking for a minute ago. So Jared Kushner goes out and spends this vast amount of money. Why? Because he's making a really important point that's summed with his name. So if you don't believe that Jewish people use this gematria, well, it's all over. And somebody spent, what was it? It was over $1 billion for that building, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Interestingly enough, Jared Kushner is married to the president's daughter, Ivanka Trump. Now, not using the septenary cipher, so I'm going to erase it so I don't confuse anybody. But if you want to see these other ciphers for yourself, all you have to do is go to gematrinator.com, which is a gematria calculator, and open up Tools and open up Calculator, and these 4 ciphers will appear. And the ciphers, when you type in the name and hit return, it will convert the numbers to these, the letters to these numbers. So let's look at Ivanka Trump. And the New Jerusalem. Isn't that interesting that Jared Kushner Jared Kushner is believed by some to actually be the coming Messiah, believe it or not. In Israel, there are Jews right now that think that Jared Kushner could be the next Messiah. Well, in the 4 base ciphers that you opened up on your gematria calculator, you might want to do that on a separate window so you can punch in and follow along. Now, the 4 base ciphers that you will see are these. 146 when you punch in Ivanka Trump, 47, 151, and 70. So her name will sum to those. New Jerusalem will also sum to 146, 47, little different on this one, and the number 70. Exactly the same in 3 of the 4 base ciphers. This is why, if you watch The Simpsons and you saw Lisa Simpson as the president, go ahead and try it. Open up your gematrinator.com calculator. Don't add the N in gematrinator. It's not gematrinator. It's gematra. Wait, let me spell it. Hold on. Gematrinator. Yeah, it does have an N. Never mind. Gematrinator.com. Hold on, let me check it. I can't even spell for myself. You'd think I know after all these years of doing it. Not years, but all these months of doing it. Gematrinator. I can't spell, save my life sometimes. Gematrinator. There we go. There we go. That's how you spell it. So I want to put that out there for those that want to follow along. So gematrinator.com. It does have an N right there. And that will get you your online calendar. Anyway, I was talking about Lisa Simpson. And Lisa Simpson was the president in one episode. Many people thought, oh, this means that Hillary is going to be president. But if you type in Lisa Simpson, this interesting pattern develops. 146, 47, 151, and 70. Exactly the same as Ivanka Trump. So is she probably going to run at some point in the future? My instinct says yes, that is predictive programming. We'll see. They've been right on a whole lot of other things. All right, now I see some people have joined, so we're going to go to the actual topic today. That was just sort of a starter to give people time to join in. Okay, we're going to talk about the Oklahoma City bombing, which happened on 4/19/95. There's 3 dates we're going to look at here initially. The date that Oklahoma was founded. It's all right, founded. The day that it was incorporated. I'll abbreviate that. And the day of the Oklahoma City bombing. All right, so these dates are 4/22/1889. And 7/15/1890. And the bombing was on 4/19/95. And I'm sure Amy Willis remembers that well. Amy Wills Mitchell there remembers that very well because that was right before we graduated. Months before we graduated. So anyway, let's start with 4/22. If you want to follow along on the Gematrinator calculator, the Gematrinator calculator has a date duration calculator. So if you open up date durations, you can punch in the beginning and the end date, and it will show you the numerologies that are added and multiplied for each date and tell you how long between the 2 dates. But let's start with 4/22, and you will see this on that calculator. 4/22/1889 is the 112th day of the year. Now, earlier, what is a bombing, Evie? Now I'm talking about, this was, well before you was born, but there was a big bombing in Oklahoma that destroyed a lot of the federal building there in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. And good number of people died. In fact, I'll tell you how many here in a little bit. Now, 112th day of the year. I was saying earlier that everything in this Oklahoma City bombing is paired with 9/11 and with a huge number of astronomical incidences. But let's start with 112. Okay, so 112 is the alternative dialing code for 9/11. If you actually picked up your phone, you could, and in some countries it's only 112, you could dial 112 instead of 9/11. Not very many people know that. I didn't know that until I learned that from the one I learned the Gematria from. His name is Zachary K. Hubbard, and you can see him on YouTube on Gematria Effect News. It's the name of his channel. So Oklahoma City was founded on a day that is synonymous with 9/11. Now, the city bombing, let's take the date 7/15/1890 and look at this. You can also see this on the Gematria date duration calculator, gematrinator.com. And let's just multiply the numbers. 7 times 1 times 5 times 9. And that equals 315. Now, 315 is an incredibly important number that I've made several videos about already. It's okay, Eve. It's just a little confusing if you're new to this. And a lot of people get confused the first time. So it takes a lot of time, and you have to take a lot of notes to understand what I'm saying and then build your knowledge. But Evie, I'm kind of giving an advanced course a little bit, Evie. So I'm not doing the easy type right now. So this is not all of everything I teach. A lot of the things I teach are a lot easier than this. Okay? So don't get discouraged. There's a lot of easier things to learn. 135 and 315 are very important numbers. Just like when I was talking about this last time, they canceled my they gave me a strike on my YouTube channel on May 13th, the reverse of this, when I was talking about these numbers and how it compared to August 11, the coming event that we believe there's going to be another disaster. And the strike ended on August 11. Not by coincidence. They do this code all the time. They're deep into this Kabbalah, this mysticism, this Freemason code. Now, 315 and 135 and 513, 153, all just variations of the same number, are very, very important. And when I talked about it being in conjunction with this coming August 11, I was talking about the Golden Gate Bridge, which, if you type into your Gematrinator calculator, sums to 135. So Golden Gate, I'm going to abbreviate. Golden Gate Bridge sums to 135. Now, so many codes. I'll go ahead and go through a few of them now because some people may not have heard my last videos on it. But you should go back and watch the ones I did on August 11 and on the Bumblebee movie and so forth. Because the Bumblebee movie has a helicopter that you zoom into, in which the helicopter says on its tail fin these numbers, 13553. Like Tiger Woods, who won this year, Tiger Woods sums to 135 in the same cipher, not by coincidence, as Golden Gate Bridge. The prison riot in Lucasville, if you type in prison riot, sums to 153. And the riot to 9/11 is 8 years and 153 days, not by coincidence. Lucasville, the town I'm from and where the prison riot happened, Lucasville sums to 35. And David Koresh, because the Waco event was happening at the same time, David Koresh sums to 53. In the escape room, the driver's license on the table summed to the driver's license that the lady presented to get into the building. When I punched it into the Gematria calculator, it sums to 53. And the Bumblebee movie, Bumblebee's license plate, when I punch in the letters and the numbers for his license plate into the Gematrinator calculator, sums to 35 and 53. Hey, Greg. 2 Gregs on again. Now, Pacific Rim was a movie in which the Golden Gate Bridge was destroyed on August 11, and it happened in the year 2035, again with the 3 and the 5. Pacific Rim was released at a theater long before it was presented to the rest of the world, at a theater called the View West End. And View West End sums to 3520, like the year that this supposedly happened, 2035, and has a 35 at the beginning. The monsters that destroyed the Golden Gate Bridge in the Pacific Rim movie, those were called Jaegers, spelled Jaeger, and those also summed to 35. The last person to die at the Columbine shooting was called Corey DePuter, who died at 11:35. The Parkland shooter, his name was Nicholas Cruz, and his name sums to 35 in the septenary cipher, the Bible cipher, if you will. And all of this is based on the moon and Kabbalah. Now, the moon is coded with women, as I've done videos on in the past, and womb equals 53 in the first cipher. So you definitely want to open up your Gematrinator.com calculator if you haven't done it yet on a second page and toggle back and forth, punch in some things and see what I'm talking about. Or at very least, and maybe even better, grab a piece of paper and write all this stuff down. Because the more you can write down, you can always come back later and go back and pause it. So now we're still talking about 35 and how it relates to the Oklahoma City bombing. Well, Oklahoma City, hi Tammy. A lot of people I haven't heard from in a long time showing up today. How nice. It's good to have you. So Oklahoma City is at 35 degrees north, and not by coincidence. And Wikipedia makes a point to point out, and nothing they do is by accident, it's on the I-35 corridor. They wanted to make sure that you knew that 35 was related. By the way, the Golden Gate Bridge, which sums to 135, it covers a span of water that is 1 mile wide. 1 mile is 5,280 feet. If you divide that by the sun, their holy number in Kabbalah and Judaism, there's 39, the reverse books in the Old Testament. 3 times 9 is 27, so there's 27 books in the New Testament. And this represents the Trinity, and the Trinity times the Trinity. That's why they say the sun is 93 million miles away, because the sun represents God. Well, again, if you take 1 mile and you divide it by the sun, it equals 135. Not coincidences at all. Now, McVeigh, who was the one who was ultimately killed, Timothy McVeigh, who was ultimately killed for this bombing, his name, let's go ahead and erase a little bit. No, I think I got enough for him. McVeigh. His numbers in the septenary cipher, which you can see those numbers. I had them wrote on the board earlier. But if you open up your septenary cipher under Other on gematria.com, you'll see the numbers that correspond to these letters in his name. Type in his name, McVeigh, and you'll see this. 135 5576. It starts with 135. You think that's just a total coincidence? Well, let's see. The other guy who's still alive, they did not execute this guy, at least according to Wikipedia, is still alive. His last name was Nichols. $153. Now do you see how and why that on the helicopter on the Bumblebee movie, that helicopter had a picture of 13553? Not coincidences, my friends. They are giving you a point. By the way, speaking about the Bumblebee movie, one of the Decepticons had a 227 painted very obvious right there on his left chest. 22 divided by 7 is pi. And we've talked about how you'll see that again and how it represents how they do that in news stories to tell you that something is either already had happened or is going to happen. How high is the Golden Gate Bridge at its highest point? 227 meters. Now, the last scene on the Bumblebee movie is Optimus Prime and Bumblebee driving across the Golden Gate Bridge. So the whole movie you're watching is coded to tell you that that is what they're saying is going to happen. Whether or not it happens this August, we'll see. But there's a lot of reasons why we think it might. Something will definitely happen this August 10 and or 11. Probably to the Golden Gate Bridge. I'll remind you also that the movie that is coming out in November 8, which is called the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, the poster, now remember, November 8, 11/8, 118 is the opposite of 8/11, and 8/11 is the day we're watching out for the disaster. Well, the poster that showed the opening date before the trailer came out showed Sonic sitting on top of the Golden Gate Bridge. Again, not by coincidence. They're making a point. Now, if you go back and you just Google on YouTube the Sonic the Hedgehog trailer, And watch that trailer. You can pause it. I think it was 46 seconds into it, if I'm not mistaken. You can pause it and you'll see that the power is going out, starting on the west side of the country, and then it moves to the east. I'll also remind you that there was 3 days of darkness prophesied by the Catholic Church to happen on Passover, to begin on Passover. Of course, it didn't happen, but if I'm not mistaken, I think it was the span from Passover to August 11 was 3 months and 22 days. This infamous skull and bones number. You might even remember how Daniel 12 says the blessed is the one who makes it to the 1,335 days. That's just doubles the 3. So they are very much aware of this knowledge. Okay, so let me erase a little bit here. Oh, it's right here. Okay. All right. The Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building. If you write out that entire word, Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building, and you enter it into your gematrinator.com calculator, which if you haven't opened that yet, might be a good thing to do. Don't forget to have your septenary cipher opened. You have to find that under Other. The septenary cipher will give you a value for Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building of 110. 110 is very important. How tall was the World Trade Center? Anybody know? 110 stories tall. So Alfred P. Murrah is coded with the World Trade Centers by 110. By the way, Timothy, if you type in the word Timothy, in the first English ordinal cipher on your gematrinator.com calculator, will equal 110. Now, when you see something in either septenary or in this cipher right now, right here, the very first cipher called the English ordinal cipher, that seems to have a very strong weight. One, the Bible cipher, the septenary cipher, as it calls it on gematrinator.com, is based on the 7 days of the week in Genesis chapter 1. And those who use this code use Bible knowledge to advance their agenda. Now, when you see this, however, this is what most Freemasons know. You don't have to be very high up in the Masons to learn this particular code, because this particular cipher, because it's called the English ordinal cipher, and all it does is takes the letters of the alphabet, A through Z, okay, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all the way to Z, and it just puts the next number in row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, all the way to 26. It's that simple. It's very intuitive and just common sense. 1 through 26, there's 26 letters in the alphabet, you see. So when you see something like that, it's there for a doubly strong reason, because a lot more people are going to see it and understand it. The other ciphers, not as many people will know or understand. So again, Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building, and the septenary cipher is 110. Timothy equals 110 in the English ordinal cipher. Now, talking about the septenary cipher, let's write out the words 110 and see what happens. Now we take those letters, we type them into the calculator under the septenary cipher, and we have these values: 2, 1, 5, 6, 6, 1, 4, 5, 5, 4, 7, 5, 1. Now this is where you got to take the time to open up a regular calculator and multiply all these numbers together. 2 times 1 times 5 times 6 times 6 times 1 times 4 times 5 times 5 times 4 times 7 times 5. Multiply them all together, and it equals this number. 5,040,000. In gematria and numerology, zeros and most of the time ones are irrelevant. These are the numbers we're looking at. Why is 54 so important? We talk about it all the time. This is a division of the Kabbalah cube. A cube, just to refresh, this is the basis of Kabbalah. Kabbalah has 6 sides on a cube, obviously. Each corner is a 90-degree angle. So the front face would be 90, 90, and 90, and 90, for a total of 360 degrees for each side. 360 times there's 6 sides on a cube, so 360 times 6 equals 2,160. Now, this is your base cube number right here. 1 cube, 2,160. And they tell us in NASA that the moon is exactly 2,000. If you believe anything NASA says, they tell us the diameter is 2,160 miles across. Multiply that by 4 cubes, and they tell us that's what the width of the sun is. But I'm sure it's 100% authentic. So what is 54? 54 is 216 divided by 2 is 108. Or if you will, the radius of the moon, that means halfway across the moon, be 1,080, you just add zeros. All right, so divide that again, and 108 divided by 2 is 54. So we are seeing that Alfred P. Murrah is intentionally, like we did over and over again on the Waco and the Lucasville prison riots, we came up with the 54, the 108, and the 216 over and over again. Not by mistake. They were chosen for reasons that match with Kabbalah. Okay, so is that not enough? Let's do Timothy McVeigh. Remember, we're looking at 54 right now. 54, 110, because it goes with 110. So 110 multiplied out equals 54. So the Alfred P. Murrah building through 110 in the septenary cipher and 110 spelled out equals 54, reduced when you take away the zeros. Now we'll do Timothy McVeigh and see if there's any similarity. That's why this stuff is impossible to deny the reality of it, folks. I mean, it's math. If you can count to 7 and if you can add and multiply, 7 for the septenary cipher, you will get these numbers. I'm not pulling them out of my rear end. They're all real, Can't change it no matter what you say, okay? They are definitely real. Now, the numbers for Timothy McVeigh are this: 75127. Oh, that's an important number right there. We'll get into that after this. 62, and then we did, like we showed earlier, the 135, and we showed how important the 135 was. 5576. I'll go ahead and tell you. World Trade Centers, 1, 2, and 7. Does that sound familiar to you? Pearl Harbor was when? 12-7. Okay. But I don't want to go on to that. I've made other videos on that in the past. You can go look at my 127 videos and how they go all the way back for every catastrophe for the last 100 and some years. Probably further, but that's what I've discovered so far. At least back to the USS Maine. Okay, now, Take all these numbers and you multiply them out, and it equals this. Now, what I mean, 7 times 5 times 1 times 2 times 7 times 6 times 2. Just keep going, multiply, multiply, multiply. And it equals this number. Multiplied equals 92,610,000. Now we're going to simply reduce, like I've said already several times, you get rid of the zeros. And you just keep on multiplying. 9 times 2 times 6. The 1 doesn't change any. So 9 times 2 times 6 is what? 108. What did we say the radius of the moon was? 1,080. Kabbalah. And you want to see if we can get a 54 out of it? We most certainly can. Because if you add these numbers, 7, instead of multiply, we're going to add. 7 plus 5 plus 1 plus 2 plus 7 plus 6 plus 2, we get 30. And if we add 1 plus 3 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 7 plus 6, we get 32. That's why you need lots of paper to write this stuff down, folks. I only got one board here. I have to keep erasing, so it does good to have lots of paper. And, of course, if you miss something, don't fret it. Just go back after the video, rewind, pause as many times as you need to, because that's what I do. How do you think I get a lot of this information? Of course, now I discovered all this, but there's a whole lot of others that I just copied from. Now, this is all my research today, though, everything you've heard, except for the tip I gave you earlier from Sonia. Now, take these numbers that we added these values for, 30 and 32, and multiply them. 30 times 32. Oh, boy, I'm running out of room. 30 times 32 is 960. And just keep doing multiplication reduction. 9 times 6, the 0 doesn't matter, equals 54. So again, Alfred P. Murrah, through its value 110 equals 54. 110 stories on the World Trade Center. Timothy represents World Trade Center. McVeigh, the 135. So this represents the both events, the 9/11 event. And his last name represents what I think is the coming 8, 10, or 11 event. East and West. Just like how we said that the Lucasville prison riots that were happening at the same time as Waco represented the East and the West. Summing with so they were paired with 9/11 and this coming events that might be this August 11. And why? Why this August 11? I did videos on why August 10 and why August 11. Okay, go back and look at them videos, man. Because August 10, 11 is this Jewish holiday called Tisha B'Av. And that part, that was not my research. I got that from Zach Hubbard, okay? But that's what got me looking into all this to begin with, you know? So the name of that holiday is called Tisha B'Av. And it's not really a holiday. It's a day that they take to mourn the destruction of the two temples. The first one was destroyed in 586 BC. The second one by the Romans in 70 AD. It changes every year on our calendar, but on the Hebrew calendar, it stays the same. Hebrew days do not end and begin when our days do. Therefore, one day will cover 2 of our days. That's why we say August 10 and August 11. All right. Now, from at the very beginning, when we first started here tonight, talking about the Oklahoma City bombing, we said we were looking at 3 dates. The first, we're looking at the bombing date, 4/19/95. Now let's look at this. 4/19/95. There are multiple ways to do date numerologies, but look how simple this one is. 4 plus 19 plus 95 equals what? 118. What day did we just say we're looking out for? 8/11, August 11. Now, from the date of the Oklahoma City bombing, 4/19/95, to 9/11/01, I don't think I have to tell you what happened that day, is 333 weeks. You might identify it as half of 666, which would make sense because the other half is yet to come, possibly on August 11. But primarily, 33 is the number of ritual completion. That's why the Masons graduate at the top of their class at the 33rd degree. That's why Jesus is said to have died at 33 years old. Okay? Doesn't mean he didn't, but that's the basis for it. Now, from the day that Oklahoma City was founded, was 4/22/1889. To 9/11, (2001) was 112 years. Didn't we already do this one? Maybe I already did that earlier. I can't remember. So 112 years, like the alternative 9/11. Like I said, if you dial 911 or 112, it will take you to the same place. It's also interesting that 4/22 is the 253rd. There's that number 53. 253rd day of the year. 9/11 was the 254th day of the year. In Gematria, there is a rule that comes from Freemasonry that I found on a Freemason website called the Rule of Colel. That means if the numbers are different by a value of 1, or just by one number, like you could change the 5 to a 6, it'd still be the same thing, that the values don't change the meaning. These literally mean the same thing. And let's see, day of the year, this would be 253. This would be days left in a year. I'm sorry. So 253 days left in a year and the 254th day of the year. The mirror, basically. They call that mirroring. Now, let's go from the date that Oklahoma City was incorporated. The first date I gave you was the date that Oklahoma City was founded. And where did I get these dates? From Wikipedia, of course. Not hard.